you can't make fetch happen. It's just not going to happen.
But it's so fetch.
It's not going to be a thing.
But I can tell when it's raining.
You can't sit with us.
It's like they have ESPN or something.
It should be made of unicorns and rainbows. Hello, friends. Welcome to one of our Mean Girls themed episodes of Shit Cosplayers Say.
Because on Wednesdays we wear pink.
On Wednesdays we wear pink. Yes, we are bringing you an episode where we are going to use a little Mean Girls to kind of talk about a difficult topic that happens within our cosplay community, which is difficult people.
Weird.
So if you've never seen Mean Girls, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, you should go fix that and then come back.
Yeah, you need to turn this off. Go figure out what streaming service Mean Girls is on. Watch it and come back, because if you haven't seen it, that's a travesty. Absolute travesty. But the basic premise is you have your stereotypical mean girl in high school, the new girl that comes in who wants to just kind of fit in with the crowd, kind of figure out what's going on. She gets adopted into the Mean Girls squad, and then you kind of will have to see what happens to her, because if you haven't seen it, well, if you haven't seen it, that movie's like 20 years old, so...
Get on it.
Get on it. But the whole movie is full of stereotypes. I mean, that's exactly what this movie is. It is a stereotype of high school. You have your stereotypical geek characters, your stereotypical, like, artist goth characters, your stereotypical new kid, your stereotypical, like, mean girls, popular girls. That's the entire movie.
It also has tons of great quotes.
It has amazing quotes. So if you ever hear people say, you can't sit with us, or on Wednesdays we wear pink, that's Mean Girls. And the main antagonist of Mean Girls is a popular blonde cheerleader named Regina George.
But Elle, who is Regina George?
So Regina is your stereotype of the mean, popular girl who will do anything to get her way. And in the process of doing this, Regina has basically tortured and terrorized the entire school. Probably one of the most popular quotes from Mean Girls is, "Raise your hand if you have ever been personally victimized by Regina George." And of course, at that point in the movie, everyone does. Because at some point in time, everyone has had their life affected by the behavior of Regina George. There are, unfortunately, quite a few Regina Georges in the cosplay community.
What?
Right? There are difficult people in the cosplay community?
You mean it's not all sunshine and rainbows?
What? You mean there are catty, underhanded, desperate to be popular, but deep down horribly insecure people within the cosplay community?
Nah.
Unfortunately, we probably have all had our own experiences with Regina Georges in the world.
Probably. Unfortunately, you're probably all sitting there going, oh, I know somebody just like that.
Well, and we all know somebody who is a little bit catty, might go after someone a little bit to build themselves back up. One of the really good examples is at one point in the movie, Regina says, "Oh my god, I love your skirt. Where did you get it?" And then she turns around to her friends and says, "That is the ugliest effing skirt I've ever seen." That kind of backhanded stuff happens all the time, unfortunately, in our community. And it's important to note that we all are difficult people sometimes. There are different kinds of difficult people. Probably the most difficult person is the bully, who is going to be hostile and angry, who's going to go behind your back. Typically, that person struggles with some self-esteem issues, and in order to bring themselves up, they feel like they have to bring someone down. But, you know, you've also got your gripers who complain about everything. You've got your silent types that basically just don't say anything and kind of just go with whatever. Like, you might ask them for their opinion and they're just going to be like, I don't know. Okay. Or they need constant reassurance to make a decision. The super duper nice people, especially the super duper nice people that will agree with you, but then won't actually do what they said they were going to do. They might be trying to be fake to get on your good side. Like, Regina George is a bully, but she also does this quite a bit. And you see the very nice person in the cosplay community a lot, where they will put on this front of being super, super nice, but then will turn around behind that person's back and talk shit about them. We have experienced this a few times.
Unfortunately, I think, again, that's something that a lot of people have gone through. And because they're nice outwardly and nice to everybody outwardly, if you try to call them on it, people won't necessarily believe the victim when it happens because, oh, well, they're so nice to me or they're so nice to all these other people. How could you possibly say that they would say those things?
And that person is also sometimes your know-it-all, who, regardless of how much information they have on a topic, will tell you exactly how it should go. Those are also a problem in the cosplay community. We see that a lot.
What?
Lots of people trying to give advice to cosplayers when they probably shouldn't be giving that advice. That's where pretty much everything we have for the live show comes from, is people giving advice that they shouldn't be giving because they think they know better than everybody else.
And you all probably know somebody like that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everyone knows a difficult person. You probably see some of the traits of difficult people in yourself. We're all difficult people sometimes. I mean, we all have some of those traits. They're there. They happen. It becomes a problem when that person is so difficult that they're not realizing that they're difficult. This kind of brings up the question of, why do cosplayers attack each other? Like, why are cosplayers being bullies and know-it-alls and fake, very nice people to each other when we should be working with each other? I've seen a lot of bullying online, and today we're going to talk about cosplayers going at each other, but you'll also see a lot of bullying online from non-cosplayers, particularly trying to tell cosplayers why they do not fit their perfect idea of what that character should be.
We've experienced this in person.
Oh yeah, this happens all the time.
Awkward.
Yeah, that was real awkward. When you're told that you are the wrong race for a character, that was interesting.
And then they're creepy and bring up all these fetishizing comments about the character in front of you, and then their friends look on horrified.
Yeah. Normally, we run into these things online, but that was a very awkward in-person experience for me.
Yup.
I guess I should probably explain what that was, so it makes sense to everybody.
Sure.
But I cosplay Erd from Oh My Goddess, and Erd has a slightly tan skin tone. I don't change my skin tone for cosplay, because you shouldn't do that. But I still cosplay Erd, and I had this random guy come up and tell me that we needed to find a real Erd, because I'm not Milano, and I should cosplay Baldandy instead. And then he continued to go on for an extended period, all the reasons why I needed to not be Erd.
Yes.
Due to my skin tone.
Yes, because you were not a sweet mocha. I can't even remember what he said, but it was just like appalling.
It was very inappropriate. And this person was not a cosplayer, but they felt that they needed to make a comment on my physical appearance in relationship to a character that they felt they had ownership over. Because that's where a lot of it comes from, is these fans feel like they have some sort of ownership over the character. And when you don't fit their particular ideal of that character, they feel like they need to let you know because you're ruining their vision. It's a very, like, self-absorbed concept. Kind of like the know-it-all.
Yeah.
Probably fit in that category.
Well, and you see this a lot with movies all the time whenever they cast anybody as a comic book character. Honestly, I just see the rants and the raves all over Facebook and social media talking about how this person could never be this character for whatever reason. It's like, guys, they're actors. Just let them do their jobs.
Well, yeah, and then cosplayers are even more far removed from that. We're not even paid actors. But people often treat us as such in relationship to portraying a character. But this episode today, we're actually going to discuss the bullying within cosplayers themselves.
Yep.
So why would this happen? Well, the big one is jealousy.
What?
Which we've all seen this. And it'll usually come from a couple different areas. Either the cosplayer's doing something they wish they could be doing. So the one being bullied is doing something that they wish they were able to do. The cosplayer is getting guesting bookings and they are not, because you do see a lot of fighting around guesting bookings. The cosplayer is well liked, but they are not. Or the cosplayer is winning awards and they are not. That's one of the real big ones.
The thing that I've noticed with each of these two is that the circumstances aren't even necessarily like even playing fields. The person who's doing the bullying might not be in a position to be able to do the thing they wish they were doing. They might not have requested to guest at XYZ conventions. They have no idea how well liked somebody actually is or not. They might be very well liked themselves, but just don't like other people getting the attention. And they may or may not be competing, but be butthurt over the fact that somebody's winning awards.
Oh, yeah. My favorite is when it's someone who didn't compete in the contest and they're mad that so-and-so won an award. Like, you didn't even compete in that show. Why are you mad, bro?
Yeah, it's just petty.
Well, yeah, and a lot of it comes from unspoken need to be competitive with others, which usually is going to stem from a feeling of inadequacy and self-esteem issues. They're seeing this person getting guesting bookings or doing something they wish they could be doing or being liked or winning awards as some sort of competition against them. That somehow this person is doing this to harm their ability to do these things.
Yes, because clearly the reasons why we like to compete or wear costumes or go to cons or run this podcast is because we directly want to hurt your feelings and make people not like you.
I bet you think this podcast is against you.
Apparently.
Woo-hoo. Well, and we've actually had people who have come at us because of the podcast too. And it stems from them being jealous that people like to listen to us talk about shit. Oh no. They tell you when you start something like podcasting, and they really should tell people more about this when they start anything in social media, is to not let reviews get the best of you.
Haters gonna hate.
Because you're gonna get haters. If you're getting haters, you're probably doing something right. So good for you. Because it means that you're doing something well enough that one of these people who is jealous and have difficulties with their own self-esteem feel like they need to bring you down to feel better about themselves. Because ultimately, an unproductive review or comment is exactly that. Because not all negative comments and negative reviews are unproductive.
Right.
And even the ones that are meant to, like, sting, you can sometimes find some value in. But you can tell the difference when it's someone who just wants to bring you down because it's going to make them feel better. And that all stems from that jealousy that you're doing something they wish they could do.
Yeah. So, like, the real question, if you are faced with a situation on your own where you're getting negative feedback, is, are they just directly attacking you? Or do they have a point? Even if you don't necessarily want to listen to what the point is, do they have a point? Is it something that you care about? And is it something that you want to change? And if the answer to those questions is yes, then negative reviews can be very productive for you and help you in a very beneficial fashion. If they're just attacking you for the sake of attacking you, that's probably to make themselves feel better.
Well, and that kind of goes into that whole inadequacy and fear concept where, like, you do have these, and this is totally Regina in and of itself in the end. She feels like she needs to keep that place of power and she needs to squash people and put them down in order to feel successful, in order to keep her, like, throne, so to speak. Because a lot of people are threatened by other people's success. That's a thing.
Why can't we all just get along?
And this usually stems from not being confident in their own place within the community. They find that you having success, however that's defined in the cosplay community, which there are so many different definitions, that someone could also just perceive you as having success, air quotes. Some people will feel that unless you're making a ton of money cosplaying, you're not successful. Some people will be like, oh, they got to judge this big convention, they're successful. You know, other people will be like, oh, people know who you are, so therefore you're successful. Like, there's just a gamut of what successful can mean within the cosplay community and what being popular in the community could be. But if someone's coming at you due to your quote-unquote success, that often comes from a fear of becoming irrelevant in the community themselves. So as they see other people doing things and having people follow them and having quote-unquote success, they start to get worried about becoming irrelevant, and then their reaction is to try to bring those other people down so that they cannot become more successful or more relevant. Now, does that usually work? No.
No.
Most people will ignore negative comments. Most people will ignore negative reviews. They don't have the impact that people think they will. If you go on a smear campaign of someone, it's highly unlikely that their followers are going to believe it.
Well, and frankly, anybody in the marketing business know that all publicity is good publicity. Bad publicity is still good publicity.
It's true, because there are many conventions and cosplayers that wouldn't get talked about except that there were scandals and issues that involved their event or their person in some fashion.
So while you may be the worst pirate I've ever heard of, I've at least heard of you.
Exactly. And this does also fall into, you know, as cosplay evolves, it's becoming more and more linked to the entertainment business and how the entertainment business functions. If you've never been in the business,
Don't,
first of all. I used to work in the entertainment business. I don't recommend it. It's very competitive. It's very cutthroat. You really can't trust anyone. Because when I worked in the entertainment business, you were taught that, you know, you should be friends with everyone, but you also should be willing to walk right over them if an opportunity arises. And that's kind of what you're taught as an entertainer. I mean, that's basically what they taught us in school, too. You need to be able to walk over anyone to get that role that you want. You need to be willing to do whatever you can because there's 1,000 other people in line for the same role. There are cosplayers that are kind of treating cosplay like that.
There are 1,000 other cosplayers that would love the opportunity to do XYZ, that would love to win these awards or go to these conventions for guesting appearances or have successful Twitch or YouTube channels or blogs or what have you. If you're willing to put forth the effort to get there, there's no reason to hold yourself back. I'm not saying go and be underhanded towards people, but obviously some people are. But there's no reason for you to hold yourself back on what you're willing to do to achieve your dreams just because you happen to be friends with somebody else that wants the same things.
Well, and you also have to understand that just because you work hard doesn't mean that you're entitled to any of that type of success.
We see this a lot when we're judging, actually, because everybody that showed up at the competition put forth effort and tried really hard and brought their best. So you saying, well, I tried really hard, so I deserve a first place award. Well, what about the person that was granted the first place award? Are you saying that they didn't try hard either?
I'm sure there are many cosplayers who are trying just as hard as some of the super popular cosplayers, but that doesn't mean they're ever going to have 1 million followers and a Patreon where they make tons of money and have this impressive YouTube channel. A lot of those things, especially with social media, rely on dumb luck and rely on something to go viral. They also rely on you having been in before the algorithms got so screwed up. But that's beside the point. That's why everyone's going to TikTok right now, because TikTok's algorithm isn't messed up. Actually, it's messed up the opposite way, where you gain followers so freaking fast, you can't even, like, calculate what they mean. Because your numbers go up drastically quickly. And so they mean something completely different than what numbers on Instagram or Facebook mean. You can look at all those statistics for days and do everything that you're supposed to, and you still may never be as successful, quote unquote, or famous as this other person. And that's okay. What isn't is when someone walks in and they feel like they are entitled to the success. I see this a lot with cosplayers not wanting cosplayers outside of their community to compete at certain conventions. Or they feel that this particular contest belongs to them and that they are entitled to an award. Because it doesn't matter how much you want an award, you are not entitled to a title.
Nope.
It doesn't matter, like, how many times you've tried or how hard you've worked. No one's ever entitled to a specific award at a specific convention or competition. It's just not how it works. You may have worked your butt off for years and you decided to enter this big contest, and somebody who on a whim decided to enter it 2 months later wins. Just because you were working on this for years doesn't mean that you have more right to that award than the person that's only been working on it for 2 months. It's just not how it works.
Nope, that's not the nature of competitions.
But you will see a lot of the bullying around that sort of a situation, where someone felt like they were entitled to X and they didn't get X. So now they're going to attack the person who got X to make them feel validated because they didn't get X. Or sometimes people will do that in support of a cosplayer as well. So I've seen that a couple of times where, like, somebody didn't win Best in Show and they're trying to bring up the cosplayer who didn't win by bashing the person who did.
Yeah, also not okay.
Maybe your friend won Best Masters and not Best in Show, going on and being like, you were so great, those people who won Best in Show never should have won, you should have won, is not the way to encourage your friend.
They're probably just stoked about the fact that they won a Best in Class award, so let them ride their high. Praise them for winning Best Masters, because that's not a guarantee.
Well, and I've even seen it where, like, someone's won an award, like a good award like Best Masters, but they didn't win the higher award, and so then someone's attacked them for, like, winning the higher award, especially if it's, like, a friend group competing against each other. You'll sometimes see that, where someone will go and attack the person who won Best in Show, even though the other friend won Best Masters, but they felt that that friend should have won Best in Show. Y'all, that's not productive for our community.
No. And you're treating your friends like shit.
Well, yeah, it just doesn't make sense to behave in that fashion or to attack cosplayers for winning conventions or even attending certain conventions. Because I've also seen that happening where cosplayers will attack other cosplayers for competing at certain conventions or attending them. And there's something that everyone should be aware of. Seem like certain information is very well known in your community about certain conventions and, like, reputations of certain conventions. But everyone may not be privy to that information, and it's not productive when someone posts, like, hey, is anyone going to X Con? And then a bunch of people attack them for even considering it. When this person might be brand new to the community and has no idea that there's issues with a certain convention.
Right. What if they just moved here and they happen to find a regional cosplay board and you're all like, oh no, you're a terrible person for even thinking about going here. Only terrible people go to this convention. You definitely shouldn't go and nobody should go. Well, they see that you're going to go to a different con. They're probably going to feel more comfortable going to the con that you told them not to go to because those people were all warm and welcoming and super friendly. Everybody that supports the con that you're trying to get them to go to is attacking them and their character.
Instead, You can very politely try to warn someone that there's an issue about a certain convention by maybe telling them to look up the convention itself rather than attacking them for asking about the convention. And you will also see this too with conventions that compete against each other. Whether there's actually an issue with either con at all, you will sometimes see this just because there's a disdain between the two conventions that are competing against each other.
Again, we're all nerds in costume. Why can't we all just get along?
Because you can't sit with us. You want to go to X-Con, you can't sit with us.
Well, I'm going to go sit with those people then.
I mean, that's pretty much what it is, in a nutshell. But that's not productive, because if we exclude everyone from the lunch table of cosplay, then suddenly no one's sitting with anyone and everybody's just alone. And then it's sad.
That is sad. Let's not do that.
It doesn't make sense. We don't want the cosplay community to be segregated like your high school lunchroom, because let me tell you, I ate in the band room. That's how segregated it was. Got your different tables of, like, your different peeps and your little cliques. And we don't want the cosplay community to be high school, even though it feels like that sometimes.
Yeah.
It really does. It's unfortunate that at almost, by the time this comes out, I will be like a week from 36. We are still dealing with high school bullshit.
Yep.
We shouldn't have this much bullshit with cosplay because, like, cosplay shouldn't be defining you as a person or defining your self-worth. It's a hobby.
One which should not consume your life by any means.
I get that people are trying to make it a career, and that puts different strains on what you're doing. And I know that that's even amplified even more now that we're stuck at home.
Yes.
Because people are trying any means necessary to make up for lost dollars. And, like, I get that. If you're basing your self-worth and your success in your life on whether or not you're winning awards or guesting at cons or having high social media numbers, like, you really need to relook at your life goals because it's not healthy for you. If that's become all-consuming for your life, you need to kind of relook at some of those priorities a little bit.
And definitely don't be the person that tears your friends down because they're doing well with something.
Support your friends. Don't attack them because you feel like they're getting ahead of you. If you work together, you can travel together instead of far apart. So you're probably wondering, what do we do about these bullies when it happens? In a lot of cases, it's good to not feed your bully. They're often doing this for some sort of attention. They want to know that they're hurting you. And if they know that they've hurt you, they know that they've won. So in a lot of cases, you don't want to feed into having that big reaction because that's what they're looking for. It's not fun for them if you don't get upset.
And if you get upset and you react strongly, they're probably just going to keep doing it, frankly.
Oh yeah, in most cases, if you stop reacting, they'll move on to somebody else that they can get a reaction out of. Now, in some cases, that won't be the case. And we've had, once in a blue moon, the really persistent bully who, no matter what you do, is just going to keep coming at you. Because for some reason, they have a vendetta against you. And in that case, if it even gets to a point where you have concerns for your safety, then that's when you might have to look at canceling something or stepping away from what you're doing.
And yes, it sucks. And it's not fair. Your safety is a priority. And sometimes you have to do what you have to do.
Well, and if you feel like somebody is pushing you to that level or bullying you to that extreme, especially if it involves a specific convention or a competition, try to talk to the event coordinator. As long as you feel safe doing so, because I can understand that you probably don't want your bully to know. But if you feel safe doing so, talk to the event coordinator. Let them know what's happening. Because if this is happening to you, it's probably happening to other people that are also involved with that event. Because it's highly unlikely that the person is focusing on just one person. But I also understand not wanting to say anything because you don't want them to come at you even harder. So it's kind of a catch-22 in figuring out what is the best way to maneuver that situation. And it kind of depends on the threats that the bully is giving you, and how likely are the threats to come to fruition. And a lot of that has to do with proximity and how much that bully knows about you, how much access that bully has to you. So if it is something where it's involving a specific event or a specific contest, eventually, yeah, you're going to physically cross paths with that person. And then you have to make that decision. Should I say something and not go to the event? Or do I go to the event and to preserve my safety, don't say anything? And that's kind of up to you, depending on what situation that you're in. But we've seen multiple people in that situation, and it's heartbreaking. The amount of turmoil that this bully puts this other person in that didn't do anything is just so incredibly unfair. And we've seen it a bunch of times for a bunch of random different things, like just social media in general. We've known people that have been targeted on social media just because they had a particular post blow up, and this person didn't think that they should. And then they proceeded to bash them all over at every con they were going to, over a social media post that happened to do well.
Just one.
Like, it's just, it boggles my mind that people want to put this much emotional effort into this.
Yes.
Because it's a lot of time and emotional labor.
If I really didn't like you that much, I wouldn't be following you on social media anyway.
Well, yeah, that's the thing that I don't get. And I'm gonna rant about this for a second, but if you don't like something, why the hell are you still following it or listening to it?
Right?
Because my favorite thing, guys, is when we get reviews that are like, I listened to all the episodes and they're terrible, blah, blah, blah. If they're so bad, why did you listen to, 24, 25 plus episodes at this point? Why? Why'd you do that to yourself? Why
would you waste your time with doing something? Why would you waste your time listening for that many hours to something that you don't like and you have no interest in?
I don't get it.
That would be like if I watched a TV show that was 3 seasons long and I'm just like, man, this show sucks, but I have to watch every episode. What? No, if the show sucks, I'm turning it off.
That's why I stopped Walking Dead after season 4, because I felt like it sucked. I decided not to subject myself to it anymore. And you have the right to feel like something sucks. But I don't understand why you would keep listening to it and then continue to complain about it.
Right. Why would you continue to follow them on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or Vero or wherever you get your cosplay kicks? Why would you stay friends with them on social media if you think that they're terrible people? I don't get it. I don't understand. Why invest yourself that much in it? If you don't like something or a specific person, just walk away. It's that easy.
That's why the block features are your friends. Because if you know they are following you, you can just block them.
But as the person that's doing the attacking in these particular situations, you can just as easily unfriend, unfollow. You don't have to subject yourself to the horrors that is the nonsense.
Well, and that's really the other unfair part is then the emotional labor that is put on the person being bullied.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a shitload of emotional labor that they did not ask for that now they have. And typically that emotional labor tends to be far more taxing than the chosen emotional labor of the bully. Which is how you end up with people with significant depression episodes when maybe they never had them to that extreme before, because that emotional turmoil can turn that switch. And it is not fun. That's why you get kids in school who end up in inpatient psych, because they were bullied to such an extreme extent that they couldn't handle it anymore. There's a lot of psychological trauma and turmoil that comes from extreme bullying. And I know I'm soapboxing because I have a background in adolescent psych services with kids, and you guys would not imagine what I've seen from children doing to children. We're adults. We shouldn't be doing this to each other.
Nope.
It just drives me crazy because you want this community to be welcoming and inclusive, but then you have these people in here that are just going out of their way to make it hard for you to enjoy your hobby that is cosplay.
If you do find yourself in a situation where you're getting bullied online, obviously, step one, you can block the person from seeing your content. Don't make a big deal about it. Don't throw a post out saying that you're doing this, because it'll get back to them, I promise. Just delete the comment, block the user, what have you, and just let it go. Like, just let it. I know it's hard, but just let it ride. Because if you make a big deal about it, they're going to find out about it, and they're going to know that they won. That they affected you in such a way that you had your blow up, and somebody's going to screen cap it for them, because nothing on the internet is private, and the internet is forever. I know it's hard, but as best you can, just try to let it go.
We've all seen the snowballs from call-out culture. Because you go on your Instagram stories and you call someone out, and then they screen cap it, and then they put it on theirs, and suddenly you have this massive social media battle that probably isn't worth it, because that is partially what that bully wants. Because then what the bully's going to do is they're going to take that and flip it to a why me, and now suddenly the bully looks like they're being attacked.
Yep, now they're the victim.
Because that's
quote,
what
unquote.
they want. They want everybody to feel sorry for them and pay attention to them. And so by aggravating
woe
you...
is me. That person's so mean to me. Oh, why is that person being so mean to you? You don't deserve that.
Don't feed the bully.
Nom nom nom.
Nom 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 nom. They eat upon your frustration.
But I mean, there are some things that you should do. Like, you have every right to feel the way that you're feeling in regards to your bullying situation. Your emotions are valid. That's perfectly fine. And you should talk about them in a healthy manner, whether it's friends or family or even a support professional. Get it out productively. It's perfectly normal to be upset.
And it is important to note that everyone can be a difficult person. So there will be a time when you are also a difficult person.
It happens to all of us. All you can do is learn from it and grow.
Like, I would say that the one that I sometimes get stuck in, which we didn't already talk about, is the staller. Which, when you're feeling overwhelmed by a task, you just wait until someone else makes a decision or takes over for you. You're laughing because you know it's true. She was trying to stifle her laughter because she knows that this is true.
Well, you know, it happens.
What about you?
Oh, goodness.
Should I review them?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I don't have the list in front of me.
Yeah,
so,
I didn't
so you
send
should review them.
So, side note, this episode's actually based off a group I used to do while I worked in adolescent psych. So I actually have the group lesson plan in front of me currently.
Very nice.
So, again, we have the bully, who is typically hostile, angry, and will throw tantrums to get their way. Typically will come from low self-esteem or desire for control. We have the griper, who loves to complain about things they don't like, but will rarely ever try to change the situation. They will often tell you that something is impossible or blame everything on other people. They are looking to make excuses for poor performance and to make themselves feel better because they feel inadequate in actuality. The silent type, which is the person that doesn't say much. They'll typically just be like yes or no. They won't really won't make decisions. They won't answer questions, really. It'll be whatever you want to do. And this will usually be someone who has low self-esteem, lack of confidence, or needs constant reassurance.
Is this a fancy way of saying pushover?
This is a pushover, yes.
Okay.
I have
Just
also
checking.
referred to this category as the pushover before.
Gotcha.
The very nice people who seem to agree with you and be on your side, but then won't do what they say they will. Typically, this would be considered being fake to try to get something out of you. They don't say no because they want to keep up appearances or they're trying to appear like they're on your side. Typically, these people also have a desperate need to be liked. Or they may have some insecurity about not wanting to disappoint others. Just say no, which is the person that just says no to everything. They're afraid of change, essentially. But they're always going to tell you, no, that won't work. No, I can't do that. No, you can't do that, etc. The know-it-all, who knows everything. They need to feel superior and in control. Then there's the staller, who will typically put things off or not make decisions due to self-doubt, anxiety, or fear of making a mistake. And that's all of them.
I'm ignoring the names because I don't necessarily agree with the names as they relate to each category.
Yes.
I would say that I am a healthy combination on a bad day of the griper, the very nice people, and the staller all together.
I could see a mix of those, yes.
Yes. Those are my flaws whenever I'm having my difficult people moments, as we all do.
Oh yeah, we all have those. I definitely do the griper too when things are kind of rough. When I can't get my brain out of that, like, lower emotional state, I will often sometimes go into the griper mode. I will post this worksheet with the photos. I'll take a photo of it and post it so you guys can all see it. Then you, too, can also decide which type of difficult person you are sometimes.
Because really the best way to overcome being one of these types of difficult people is to identify those flaws within yourself and then work on them.
That is correct.
Well, that was heavy.
Yeah. No, that was one of our... We will have more episodes of some of this nature in the future. This was one of our more heavily researched episodes, but we're trying to bring you guys some more variety in our content. But we did think that this was a really important topic to cover, especially with everything being so heavily moved to online and people's emotions being more fragile than would typically be. And most interactions happening online, because online typically results in a lot of misunderstandings.
Because you can't read the context.
Right, because you're missing all those nonverbal cues in your text-only conversations.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought we would bring this forward, help you guys out a little bit as you navigate the crazy in our community right now. Try to remember that although we are all difficult at times, what we want to try to be is someone who lifts each other up and supports our community instead. See, now we'll leave it on a heartwarming note.
I know, the warm and fuzzies. Thanks, guys. We will see you next week. This was Ashlyn.
And Elle.
We are Lovey Cosplay.
And this was Shit Cosplayers Say. Difficult People Edition. You can't sit with us!
You've been listening to Shit Cosplayers Say, an LVC production. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Podcast SCS. Our website is lavicosplay.com. Have a fun, crazy con or cosplay-related story, absurd cosplay question, or just something in general to share with us? Email us at podcastscs@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and remember, just because you can doesn't mean you should.